All right. Coming in hot tonight. Jordan Marshall as my co-host. We have Greg Dipalma. He is our guest tonight, and we're gonna bring him in a little bit and kind of talk about crossing over from the bass boat side of things onto the kayak side. What are you up to, Marshall?
Not a whole lot, hanging out, trying to clean up my magic barn here that everybody's so familiar with that people give me a hard time about. So, just trying to redo everything, get everything squared away. Kind of my first event of the season is Norman Saturday with Vinny and the boys to QC. So
Oh yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
I like old Norman. Norman's not a bad spot down there. You have to watch Joey Randall though. He apparently
Hey,
has staked
don't
some
worry,
sort of
that's
ownership
my
on
partner.
that.
That's my partner. Joey Randall's my partner.
Oh, so you got a little home cooking coming then.
Yes, sir. I learned my lesson. If you
I
can't beat,
got you. That's smart though. That'll be good for you. And Vinny, I appreciate you sharing. We're putting on this benefit tournament. I launched this afternoon. I saw that you put that out on the Queen City page. I appreciate that, guys and girls. I've seen it shared in groups all around the country. I appreciate it. Obviously, Jeff and his family appreciate the support, and it's just great seeing everybody come together for this kind of stuff. I love it. All right. What else we got going on? Is there anything we missed? We had all the trail 1, 2, 3, 4 down there in Florida. I saw this weekend. Looked like there were some big old fish getting caught down there. I saw several 24 plus inch fish.
yeah, I think Big Fish was 24 and three quarter. I know big one. Russ had a big one. Um, AC Reed had a big one.
I think Robert Weicker caught like a double D pre-fishing and didn't have a scale with him or
Ooh,
something. Yeah, so that'll stink. Anybody going to the Harris Chain event, make sure and take a scale with you. Pro tip.
100%.
All right, let's get Greg in here and hear a little bit about his career, who he is, and why he's going to try to come take our money. Greg, welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation, man.
Hey, what's going on, man? Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. I think you have kind of an interesting story here on making some moves on our side. Start off and just let us know where you're from and kind of your background a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm from a small town called Millville. It's down here in South Jersey. Um, that's kind of not jumping ahead, but where I'm from is kind of what kind of gave me more or less the thinking or the idea of pursuing this kayak endeavor, I guess you'd call it. Yeah, so
And in your area is that's like the tiny boat kind of stuff. There's a lot of that goes on in your neck of the woods, or is that more North Jersey?
man, I would say,
Is there a
I know there's
difference
a tiny
between North and South Jersey? I don't know if there's, I don't know if y'all have
there
like a
really
Mason Dixon line there.
We do. There really truly is. Where I live at down here, it's farmlands. It's completely different than North Jersey. I mean, the people down here are just way different also. It's kind of country. But in my opinion, this is, I know there's a tiny boat nation, but this
Hmm.
is truly the tiny boat nation around here where I live.
I got you. So you're pretty familiar with small craft. Is that how you started out tournament fishing?
I did. So when I was younger, like 15 years old, I actually worked all summer and I bought my first John boat. It was a 1232 small, narrow John boat. My dad helped me deck it out and I started fishing tournaments right away with it.
So you've been at it for a while.
Long, long time. Yep.
How did you make the transition from kind of local hobby fishing to deciding, hey, I think I want to make a career out of this?
It was hard. Financially, what I do is super duper expensive. Uh, I worked forever. The thing about me was I kind of feel like, and I'm not sure if this is a bad thing or a good thing, but I kind of feel like I stuck around South Jersey too long as far as tournaments go. And like I said, a lot of it is because of money. That was the main reason why I qualified for Leeds in 2006 and turned it down for the reason it was financial. From all them years looking forward, looking back, I should say, I believe it was the right move for me turning it down back then. I had an opportunity that I could have took it, but I didn't take it. Somebody actually talked me out of it. I'm glad they did because I don't think I was ready. Now coming forward, looking back, it was one of the best moves I ever made.
You don't hear that a whole lot. You don't hear guys qualifying for something. That's an interesting take. A lot of guys, that's their whole thing, is to get to that point, and they're not thinking far enough ahead to, kind of and think about that. So that's, you don't hear a lot of guys have that perspective.
How old were you when you first qualified there?
I guess it was 20. I guess we 23, 22 it was.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a big pill to swallow, to take on that financial obligation and potentially go, that far in debt to chase that dream. I think that probably is a big leap, especially for, a college age kid, basically.
Yeah. Back then when that happened, I didn't even have a graph on my boat. I just fished what I knew, burn the bank and go. What's that?
You're in the right spot.
Yeah,
Marshall just got a fish finder. He's won everything in kayak fishing, and he just got a fish finder like a month ago.
I'm no fish finder at all. My fish finder was my rod. It was either less than 6 feet or deeper than 6 feet. And now I've got optic and a sniper pole and live scope and complete full-blown setup. And I still don't know what I'm doing with it.
I was going to say, so which one's better for you, beating the bank kind of, or, using some technology?
We'll see. I've got my first tournament.
He's been practicing on that scope. Don't let him lie to you. He's getting out there busting crappie and catfish and striper and everything but bass right now.
I've spent 2 months not taking, I'm kind of the guy, if I take 10 rods, I take 9 bait casters and 1 spinning rod to flip a Cinco or a fluke. And the last few times I've taken, 6 spinning rods, which I had to go buy spinning rods. And, one of them's a little ultralight crappie rig with, little head on it. So I've been trying to learn live scope for 2 months. That's all I've been doing. So we're going to see if we start, paying off bills earlier this year. Because normally I fish till it gets hot and we start eating jackhammers.
One of the biggest things I can tell you about, forward-facing sonar, if you're trying to learn it, cast at everything. That's the best way to learn. Try to catch everything you see. Besides that, one little tip I can give you, I tell everybody the same thing, is pick a range. Don't play with your range too much. Let's say you're in that, 8 to 15 foot of water. For me, it's 70 feet. 70 foot for me is a good range, because at 70 foot, I can still be very, very accurate with my casting, which is really important with forward-facing sonar. So pick a range and stick to it if you can.
Definitely.
So when did you make the transition? Like, you turned the Elite Series down. How many years was it till you had that opportunity again? And how did you improve your game in that time frame to get ready?
It was 12 years, actually. And I improved tremendously, not only as a fisherman, but financially, as far as in the industry with sponsorships. The whole thing came full circle. So all them years, as soon as I got out of high school until basically 2000, I guess it was 15, I did construction for all them years. And then in 2016, 17, I decided to myself, you know what? I need to go out this full bore. So I actually started a guide service, and I needed to spend more time on the water, I felt like, personally. So in 2 years of the guide service, I requalified again. Prior to that qualification for the second time, I was so close for like 3 or 4 years in a row. I mean, it came down to a fish catch or not a fish catch. That's how close I was every time.
Yeah, I could imagine. That's from everything we've seen from guys we know getting into it from college and stuff. Man, it's splitting hairs trying to qualify for for the last half a dozen years or more. Honestly,
yeah, it's not fun.
But you did qualify again though. Like, how stressful was that? Like, did I miss my chance? Like, were you confident like you were going to punch your ticket again, or was there ever a time that you're like, yeah, maybe I should have shot my shot there?
Well, that's a hard question to answer, but I can tell you this: I really never had a plan B. For me, even way back then, it was always get in there and qualify. Even all them years in between, it was always just, for me, I felt like a matter of time. It just kept pushing. Even the guys you see today, the guys that are really excelling, and a lot of them are younger too, like, they're still spending a ton of time doing it. They're not just there for a year. Some guys do get lucky and get through their first time, but like, it doesn't really happen that way.
How much of an impact do you think the college kind of growth process has had on some of these younger guys qualifying for the elite so early?
Well, I think it's got a big, big impact, but I can tell you that I think the reason for the biggest impact is because of electronics. There's no doubt about that's what's, taking these kids to the next level so fast, because the way that we're traditionally been fishing, has changed in the last 3 years because of forward facing sonar, basically. And these kids can just show up. It's like you don't even spot fish anymore because you don't need a pattern. You're just hunting. So if you can hunt 5 good fish a day, you can really, get ahead of the curveball. It seems like
We've got a pair of brothers that have taken it to the woodshed on that that little deal the past couple years.
I bet.
What's your favorite way to fish? I mean, as far as presentation, baits, like what's your comfort zone?
Well, I would say it's hard, after doing it for all these years, I come to like pretty much everything. But I guess the number one still today is like a power finesse technique. Flipping small jigs and creeks is what I love to do. Buzz baits, it's probably second, and then third, probably drop shotting, smallmouth or largemouth. It doesn't matter.
I like it.
First time when you went out away from South Jersey, did you ever remember going to a lake and being just overwhelmed of just something completely different?
No, because the reason why, I used to, back then, I would pull out a paper map. I literally would look at it and find a creek, and that is where I fished. I would go through every single creek. If there was 5, I would fish all 5 in practice, and whichever one was the best one, that's where I fished at. I just kept it so simple back then.
Smart. I mean, I think especially on the big boat side, like I'll jump in some of the local bass boat derbies here, but you spend a lot of time running around the lake. and not a lot of time fishing. Like, you see these guys and they're constantly like, oh man, I should be on the south end. I bet they're on bridges right now. Like, oh man, I need to be up in the river. And they'll spend 2.5 hours a day just running the lake.
Yep. And going back to like the small boat stuff, that's kind of one reason why I like it. Like the simplicity side of it, to me, is what I actually truly love about it.
That was one of the biggest differences getting, I grew up fishing in a bass boat with my dad doing, weeknight wildcats. You would go run something and, catch a fish on a jig, on a bluff. And it's like you fish the rest of the bluff, then you go run to another bluff. And, with the kayaks, you don't really have that, ease of just moving around. So, you have to kind of think of secondary patterns and really break down areas a whole lot more versus, just running around like Lambert said.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
A lot of good comments in. Luke Arian, he said he thinks the pros having their knowledge and sharing on its seminars and stuff is a big help to people. And yeah, I think that's, shout out to some of our Yankee friends at the Bass University, but that's kind of the whole premise of their deal is, they offer you this platform to be able to tap into, hundreds of pros on their knowledge base, and you'd be surprised what might open your eyes.
Yeah, for sure. Even you guys, where you live at too, a lot of the pros you see on the Bass University during seminars, one little hint, if you guys are BU subscribers, if you live in an area, try to lean towards the pro seminars of the guys that live where you live, because a lot of us just talk through, what we did as far as growing up all the way through, but we always go back to what we know the best. Mm-hmm. So like for me, if you're a guy that lives in New York, Delaware, PA, or Jersey, a lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about probably can relate to what you're going to do. So just a little thing to kind of, think about if you guys are looking at seminars at Bass University.
So you guide, I saw the name of your guide service is Upper Bay Guide Service. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yep. How did that make you feel when Ike and Ellie won that 30-person kayak derby on the bay there? Did you wish you would have fished that then and gave him a run for his money on that one?
No, it never ever crossed my mind, to be honest with you. It's hard to say. All of us guys that live in this area, I think for the most part, we're all equally as good on the Upper Bay. The guys that are fishing there now, I mean, a lot of guys are moving down there because there is some money to be won. And that's the other thing too, versus a pro versus a local. We don't spend nowhere near the time you guys spend on local bodies of water. We might show up for 2 days of practice. That's all we get.
You get days.
Well, I was going to say you're talking to about 2-day people on this unit. We've got there's probably what, Marshall, 20 people that get to travel and really invest a decent amount of time on each body of water if you look at the average overall. But for the most part, especially in our level of the sport right now, there's not a lot of people that can make a living doing it, right? So most people still have jobs. You have some folks that work in the outdoor type industry or remote jobs or retired that can go do that stuff, but we're not at the level of a true pro circuit yet. So we still kind of if you get 2 days of practice, then you've done great.
Yeah.
In your mindset, and the trails now run from Florida to Cayuga to Texas. Like it's a huge, huge run now. So, the days of having 6 tournaments in your backyard, like I used to enjoy, they don't happen like that anymore.
Yep.
What point did you said you hadn't really thought about it when Ike won that tournament? At what point did you really, look into doing kayak tournaments seriously?
When did Ike win that? Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 years ago, right? Yeah, I would say it was a year and a half ago. I actually talked to Pete Galuzik about it for like a second last year. Just something that kind of ran through my mind. Having Ike here in my backyard. One good thing about Mike is he's a pioneer, and he always seems to pave the way, no matter what he does. He does a lot of dumb stuff too, but he does a lot of good stuff. But some of the stuff he does, I really take interest to and put a lot of thought into. And Mike doing the kayak stuff kind of like probably gave me the idea more than anything, to be honest with you. But I would say a year and a half is when I started thinking about it, but a year from now is when I really started to think about it. Last year.
I mean, he did, like, I'll say that, man, like he did it the right way too. Like you would, pre-fishing, you would see him out there grinding, hitting 6 or 8 ramps a day, checking spots, like, I mean, working hard. It's not like he came out and he was like, oh, I've filmed a couple shows here with a guide, I know where I'm going to go. Like he was out there, like, working for it. And I think we've seen some pros that have came over and fished and more cherry picked than anything else kayak tournaments. And I think, seeing the guys that are out there working, used to, we didn't have strict rules. So you could pre-fish out of your bass boat or whatever and just, cover 30, 40 miles a day marking schools. But thankfully the sport as we know it has evolved on this side that kind of eliminated things like that. And I think that's part of it, man. Like I want as many people fishing as possible. I want more, pro level guys coming over, because that's kind of a measuring stick for the kayak anglers, right? Like you see this stuff and you're like, oh, they're in their big boat, blah, 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 whatever. How good are you? Like how good do you measure up against this person that's doing it for a living? I think it's great. No, I think it's a lot of fun too. A little extra trash talk on the side.
Yeah, that's for me growing up too. Like again, I always had Ike to fish a lot of local tournaments. I had Gluzik around the area. Whenever they showed up, man, I was like, let's go, because that's the exact reason why I wanted to be pushed. I wanted to see if I could beat these guys.
Pete's a good one too, man. Him hitting that cartwheel off the deck of the boat, man. That was we were fishing a tournament when that happened. I think it was Brian or Charles one texted it to me, and I was like, no freaking way. There's no way that just happened. It was pretty slick.
That's Pete. He'll always find a way to do something, it seems like. So Pete is probably the most unorganized person that I've ever seen in my life. So for him to fall or break something, it just doesn't surprise me.
It's good. He came down to, where were we at? Down what's that little pond down there in Georgia they like to fish? Lanier. We were down on Lanier doing a little filming about, I don't know, 4 months ago, and they picked like the first cold day of the year. It was like 20 degrees. He's like, let's get some kayak stuff done. I was like, gosh, like this is miserable out here on this spotted bass lake, freezing to death.
Yeah, right.
We got about an hour into it, and Pete's like, all right, I'm gonna run down to the gas station and get some biscuits. You guys keep keep at it. Good teammate there.
No doubt.
So what do you have on your target list? I'm sure you've looked at both Bass and Hobie's schedules. What are you kind of looking to jump into here?
Well, so for Bassmaster, I'm going to try to make 4 out of the 5. I would make 5 out of the 5 if I could, but Possum Kingdom falls the same time we're at Sabine. The only way I'd be able to make it would be put my kayak in my big boat, haul it down to Texas with me.
Yeah.
And if I don't make day 3 of Sabine River, I can haul but up to top of Texas and go fish Possum Kingdom. But I just don't think that's possible. But as the bass schedule goes, I would say Gunnersville or Susky. I have fished both of them now a handful of times. The Gunnersville event, depending on how I do at our second event of the year, I might get 1 day of practice, maybe 2 if I'm lucky on Gunnersville, out of a kayak. So I really can't say as far as I don't have one on that schedule that really shines for me. I'm just going to show up and go fishing. Now for the Hobie stuff, the Cayuga event to me is one that can be really, really fun.
Yeah. I want to make that one, but it's so far away. I think Marshall's going to go on tour up there and kind of bounce around the north.
Full smallmouth mecca trip of just everything I can fish in a week. I got a full week off work, and I'm just going to go. I'm going to go try to fish Ontario and Cayuga and St. Lawrence and maybe Erie. I don't know. I'm just going to go up there and fish some sort of bucket list smallmouth lake every day.
If I were you and the weather's good, go put your kayak in at Henderson Bay. You can go right there and catch giant ones. You have to go anywhere. They're everywhere, literally. And that's where you want to learn your forward-facing sonar, go there because every one you cast at will bite.
Oh, that's even better.
Yep.
It's even better.
On the river, I don't know what I'm casting at. About the only thing I can catch when I cast at them is drum.
No doubt.
You're probably going to want to come to Possum Kingdom instead of the Sabine River anyway. So
you're probably right. But I will tell you what, man, that Sabine River fish is just like where I live.
Really?
I mean, to the T.
Canal top stuff, smaller,
just backwater river stuff. Yep. Yeah. All that good stuff.
You any more excited to go there? Because if I was going somewhere and they said it fishes like Loudon, I would not be excited to go. It's like, home. I'm not getting excited for that.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm excited because a lot of the guys still even today hate fishing river systems. It's just fishing when you fish that kind of stuff. You really can't get off the bank for the most part like you can at a Gunnersville and catch a big school of fish. A lot of guys don't like that kind of stuff where I feel like I, should do better on that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Possum Kingdom, we fished it, I guess it was 2 years ago for the first Bassmaster National Championship deal. And it was flooded. Like all the roads were underwater. It was insane. But it had those fish positioned so hard on current breaks, like any little current break. The guy that won it, Mark, he won it off of like a washout boat ramp. Like all these fish were like, it was like 30+ pound bags that he was catching off of the boat ramp that he launched on with a camera crew on him. Like the whole deal. It was hilarious.
Wow. That's one thing. I've been obviously looking at a lot of kayak stuff. Dude, a lot of I know you guys go inches, but a lot of the fish you guys are catching, a lot of these tournaments, I can't get over the size of the fish as far as 5 fish. Like, they're well over 20-pound bags. I mean, I think a 20-inch or 19-inch fish is a 4-pounder on a golden rule. I don't know, what the numbers would be on the catch board or whatever, but, I mean, there's some big fish, dude, these guys are catching.
Yep. I mean, that's and you try a lot of guys, especially that'll fish both, bass boat tournaments and kayak tournaments, will generally keep a scale on them for when you get that 5+ fish. But I mean, after you've done it for a year or two, you can pretty much, like, when you hook the fish, you see it jump once, you're usually guessing within a quarter inch to a half inch of how long that fish is before you even land it. And then once you get it on the board, obviously you can tell a lot more about the girth and get a pretty decent estimation on the weight. Some people still catch those like 6-pounders that may be 2.5, but I think you have that in anything.
No doubt, for sure.
So how many, you said 4 of the 5 Bassmaster, you got a set number or a number you're shooting for the BOS series?
Probably 2. I would say Cayuga and maybe the Mississippi River. Maybe another one if I can make it happen. It's, scheduling for me is a little bit tough with things. So definitely the 4 out of the 5 for bass I could make on my schedule as of right now. And then Cayuga, I should be free.
And here's a good question for you. What kayak are you going to be fishing from?
So for all the bass stuff, I have an Old Town, an Autopilot 136, and for the Hobie stuff, I'm going to do a Old Town 120 PDL.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Good mix. Good mix. Have you been in either of those much lately, or is this going to be kind of a learning curve getting going here?
So I kind of fell behind schedule a little bit, trying to get everything ready. Probably the first time I'm going to step in this kayak is going to be at Gunnersville.
Heck yeah.
I've
Just go straight in.
I've never in my life thrown a cast from a kayak in my entire life.
Oh boy.
Yep.
Well,
But I like I said,
right.
I fished out of plenty of crawdads that are narrow, tiny. Brian, if you're listening, Brian and I won a tournament last year or 2 years ago out of my crawdad. You know, it's sketchy with two guys in a crawdad, but I'm standing up, running around in that thing, doing my deal. So shouldn't be too bad.
Brian probably stands really close to you anyway, so you should be fine.
Yeah, it was a fun day.
You'll love it though. I mean, it's especially like once you hook that first like 6 pound plus fish and they're pulling you, like that's the difference in the leverage. Like
I
at
bet.
that point you're like, okay, like you got to be a little more calculated on how you're fighting the fish, not letting them drag you into a laydown or something. Like things get crazy in a hurry on a kayak.
I could imagine. I'll be spot locking all the time on them things.
Watch
Just push
your
buttons with the
rods
hook.
behind you. That's if I could give you one tip for your first time fishing out of one, if you're throwing a trap or something down there on Gunnersville, you will hook 42 rods and just sling them out into the water. So keep
So
that
I'm
on
still
there.
in the process of laying my kayak out. I kind of did something different in the back of the kayak. I built a box out of out of wood. So I'm gonna kind of change the whole layout because that whole standing up rod thing to me, like you just said, it's
It's tough,
just too much
dude.
of a nightmare.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to change things a little bit from what's traditionally done out there, I guess you would say.
Well, hopefully you get it dialed in. Are you going to be running what electronics are you looking at?
So Humminbird and Garmin, both of them.
Okay, I got you.
Yep.
Are you going to run the 360 or you thinking of putting that
I
on there?
have another one. If it's a place where I think that's going to shine, then I'm going to put it on there.
Gotcha.
But most of the time, it's going to be side imaging, you know, all the normal stuff and forward facing sonar.
Another great tip. This is from Dwayne Wally that runs Tourney X. That's our tournament management app. All the scoring. Don't
Yep.
lose your phone. You might want to get a phone tether or a waterproof case.
I will. I'm definitely planning on getting one.
And before you do get in your even get in your kayak, practice taking pictures of. Just go out to a pond and take the board with you and practice like handling the fish. That'll help you out a ton.
I'm sure everybody's told me the same thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
We won't lie to you much. Not until tournament
Good.
day. Trying to read through some of these comments we got coming in here.
So have you been to the Mississippi River? Is that somewhere that you had picked out because the schedule had just worked, or have you been up there and enjoyed fishing around 7, 8, 9, the pools up there?
So I fished there one time this past year. I just like how it laid out. You know, again, it's like South Jersey. It's just backwaters, creeks, canals. I just like how it looks. I like how it fishes.
I mean, you know, we've seen tournaments up there traditionally, like the numbers are excellent, I feel like, in the La Crosse area. But the big fish, like for me, the big fish, like you don't see many giants that come out of there, you know, and you hear these stories of big smallmouth, but it seems like those smallmouth up there really move a lot. Like you'll get people that'll get on them pre-fishing, and then that pack is gone on tournament day.
Yeah, I kind of fished for them this year when we were there. This past year, I had a problem electronics wise, so I couldn't stay on where they were, but I did find a pretty good pot of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was somewhere that drove me absolutely ballistic. I went up there and spent a week up there in La Crosse, and that place drove me absolutely insane. I think I had to, get rid of more fish with teeth than I ever caught back. It was
Yeah, I bet.
insane.
Throwing
I
those
didn't catch
chatterjigs.
anything but bass. It's kind of weird.
Did you throw a chatterbait all day long? Because that's probably what led to Marshall catching all the toothy fish.
I didn't throw it that much, no.
Every time I threw a topwater, everybody I talked was catching fish on top water, and every time I threw top water, I caught a pike to the point where
Really?
I was done. I could not. I was done with that place before the tournament even started. I was ready to come home.
That ain't good.
Are you going green fish or brown fish at Cayuga?
Whatever's bigger.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Here's another comment. You have a better chance at chasing green fish than brown fish at La Crosse. Pro tip from Elvis.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the time of year too, though.
Yeah, probably so.
Yep.
Are you going to run a power pole on your setup?
I do. I have one on there right now. Yep.
Those are definitely helpful. Something else though to watch is that power pole when you're casting, or especially if you're in like moving water with current under overhanging limbs. That's a good way to get upside down quick.
I'm sure I'm gonna dump it, but I'm sure I'm gonna break a lot of rods this year too.
You'll probably break a few. I mean,
I bet.
whether you break them in anger or in accident, you'll probably break
It'll be accident. No anger here.
You didn't get that. You didn't get that from the drinking the Jersey water up there.
No, like I said, I'm in South Jersey, so we're country.
Y'all are calm. You know how to act right.
Yeah, I know how to act right. I was raised right.
Joey Randall, is it y'all or yous guys?
I guess you guys. I'm not. I would say Virginia down is y'all.
Got you.
Yeah.
Here's a good question. How did the Elite Series cost compare to kayak tournament costs?
It's not even a comparison. The Elite Series costs about $100,000 a year. That's how much it cost.
Jeez.
So put that in perspective.
Yeah, kayak fishing's only like 85, so you're good.
Yeah, that's honestly, kayak fishing, the overhead is like comparable. It's not comparable, which is so nice because, I kind of made the switch too. Like I said, I fished the opens for all these years, even on the Elite Series, and just the cost of fishing 3 opens is ridiculous.
Yeah.
What I'm going to spend entry fees on them 3 opens would probably almost pay for all the 4 tournaments I'm going to do at a kayak.
Yeah. ROI is, I mean, in my opinion, comparatively speaking, is much higher on the kayak side. You're paying $250 to $300 entry, and you're taking home $10,000 or so. Like it's, not too bad considering you didn't have to buy $100,000 bass boat and spend, $600 in fuel dragging it to the river.
Yep, that's definitely one really good bonus with kayak fishing right now, and hopefully it never changes.
I don't know what these people are saying. I'm trying to read these comments. Bobby's. I'm not ignoring you, Bobby. I love YouTubers. Thank you for YouTubing with us. We really appreciate that. What do you think is going to be your number one accessory on your kayak? Like, what do you think you're going to rely on most? The spot lock, your forward-facing sonar. I mean, how do you see this going in your head?
Man, it's such a tough question because I use all so much. I don't know. I guess it depends on what I'm fishing and how I'm fishing it. But spot lock is obviously one of the biggest things we've had in the last decade that has changed the game. Forward-facing sonar is right there with it. Man, it's 50-50 for me. It really is. It depends on what I'm doing.
How did you end up in an old town? Says Nate Connolly he's Canadian, so bear with us.
Yeah. So the last 5 years I've been on the Johnson outdoor team with Humminbird and Minn Kota. So it was kind of an easy transition for me.
We've got a lot. Jeff, I hate that Jeff's not on here tonight, but he's a big old town guy, obviously. So he's on the hype train for sure.
Nice.
Get a long handle net from James. That's a pro tip as well.
Yeah. It's funny, in my John boat, I do the opposite, short handle.
Oh boy. I mean, honestly, is a lot of people boat flip them, but after you lose 3 or 4 that cost you $1,000 or $2,000, you quit doing that real quick.
No doubt.
I was like, no matter how low it seems your kayak is to the water, don't try to boat flip a fish all the time. I promise. That's cost me a lot of money this past year.
Yeah. I'm sure this year is going to be a big learning curve for me.
Mr. Grubbs wants to know, is it going to be weird sitting down and fishing, or are you going to still try to stand and cast most of the time?
I am going to try to stand as much as possible.
I mean, you can a lot, especially if you're not in like current moving water that you have to constantly be adjusting. If it's in the Bassmaster series and spot locks allowed on the trolling motor, then you can pretty much stand the entire time.
Yep.
Are you running Garmin forward facing sonar over Humminbird? I would assume so, since you said you would be running both brands of electronics. I assumed you'd be going with the live scope on that.
Yep.
Standing is the way to go. How many rods are you taking? Do you have that planned out yet?
Well, hopefully 2, but probably 6.
Heck yeah. All right.
Give me one 7-foot spinning rod and one 7'2" casting rod, and that's all I need.
I mean, honestly, probably my better tournaments that I've ever had. That's pretty much the theory there. Maybe 4. 4 if I'm feeling crazy.
I'm gonna try to keep it as simple as possible. I mean, when I'm in the bass boat, it's like I got a tackle store. But when I go to this kayak, I'm only literally gonna bring what I catch fish on, and that's it. Unless it's something stupid where like they're biting red traps, and I got a bunch of red traps. But that's about it.
I like it. I like the minimalist approach there. It's pretty good.
Yep. I've done this long enough now to know what I can catch them on, what I can't catch them on.
Well, it's funny because we'll see guys that come over from bass boat fishing their whole lives, and they jump in a kayak and they load it down with hundreds of pounds of gear, and they'll bring 16 rods and a garbage bag full of soft plastics. And, by that point, you've kind of taken a lot of the advantage out of why you had the kayak in the first place. You can't get anywhere else with that much stuff in the boat.
Yep.
Have you thought at all about, are you going to be one of those people that just puts in at one boat ramp and just stays there and breaks it down all day? Have you thought about maybe moving at all at any point during the day? Are you going to jump around ramps? Have you thought?
I don't know. I mean, starting off at Gunnersville, I know a few areas I feel like they should be in this time of year. So if one's not happening, then yes, I'm going to pull out and go to the next one. But in the tournament, if I figure something out, I'm just going to try to hunker down, because if it's grass fishing, I know in grass fishing, a lot of times if you just stay there and hunker down, you always come out on top most of the time.
Yeah.
Jumping around, it's if you got a trolling motor all the way back 2 miles or however far you are, man, that's going to burn a ton of time.
So that's the biggest thing, like, with kayak fishing, is the time management piece. Like, you have to factor in, you need to know exactly how long it takes you to load up and unload, and then drive time between ramps. That way you can kind of formulate an entire plan. Marshall, he's famous for Marshall midday moves. Like, he'll fish to like 10 or 11 and get frustrated and go somewhere and crack a 7-pounder first cast in every tournament for some reason.
That's good.
Are you going to trailer? Or are you going to throw it in the back of the truck?
A trailer. I'm a trailer. I didn't get a double. I got a single, because I feel like if I'm fishing one event, it's only one kayak anyway. Yeah. I see some of these guys got some pretty wild rigs.
You can spend as much as you want to. I mean, it's not uncommon to see a $20,000-$25,000 plastic boat.
Wow, yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Jay Karshman asks, have you fished the Susky out of a jet boat or a kayak, or either?
I fished it out of a jet boat every time I've ever been there.
That is probably one of my absolute favorite fisheries that we go to.
Oh yeah.
Let me tell you something. So one of my sponsors is Susquehanna Fishing Tackle, and them guys live right by there, and they always take me. Always. I go once or twice a year to these guys, and a bad day them's like 50 fish. A good day is like 100, 150. We only had one day so far out of all the years I've done this. It's always in the wintertime, mostly considering wintering holes, but like we've only had one time ever where we caught 50 fish. They're like, oh my God, it's horrible. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's really good to me. But dude, there's been so many times where you catch well over 100 yourself, well over, and they're all big ones.
It's like the first, what was it, Marshall? The first year we went, it was really low, and it fished tough. It fished tough in the summer.
Uh-huh.
But the second year, the water was up, and they were eating. I mean, they were chewing like crazy. And then the last year, so we upped the tournament capacity, and they're selling out. We had like 200 anglers on this river. And a lot of people went up there for the whole week and pre-fished, and you could tell, I mean, that river had taken a beating that week.
I bet.
that those fish aren't used to that kind of pressure, having that many baits thrown at them every day. It was discernible on what had taken place there.
It's the same problem when the Bassmaster opens. All these guys, they changed this year to 5 days, but like all these guys would come there and just stick every single fish in practice. It's like just ridiculous.
Yep. Yeah, that's kind of something that we're dealing with, and they made a rule. They kind of limited a little more the practice days. It's not unlimited now. What is it? Six official practice days that we have now. But in my opinion, that's still too much. I mean, if you are actually selling these tournaments out and you have 200 anglers there for
Yep.
for 5 or 6 days, there's only so many places you're going to be able to go.
I agree.
What will your tourney day lunch be? Have you thought about that?
Well, I don't know. I guess let me put it this way: if we're in an area that has Wawa, it'll be a Wawa lunch. If we're not in an area, then probably not too much good stuff. Not saying Wawa's
fair.
good, but it's a lot better than most.
Are you sponsored by Wawa at all?
I am trying to be.
Have you been to a Buc-ee's before?
I have. I've been to Buc-ee's.
All right, fair enough. What rod brand are you throwing?
Shimano.
Nice, smart.
And
Man.
you've been with Shimano for a few years, right?
Probably close to 10.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Are you going to argue with the boat guys in your spot that are fishing an elite tourney the same day we are?
Yes.
Nice.
I will stand up for you guys. Trust me.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
We got several dudes that are pretty good at standing their ground. A little history lesson on kayak tournaments. We were fishing one at Eufaula, and this guy in a Phoenix tried to run over a kayak angler on his way back to he was at the dock, and this guy literally is goosing it, trying to run him over, and they start jawing back and forth, and the kayak angler's like, meet me on the dock. Well, he does. The guy gets out of his Phoenix and is gonna fight this guy. And he said, he reached back with a haymaker from the other side of Eufaula. He said, so I hit him with the old 2-piece. The kayak angler ends up whipping the shit out of the bass boat guy on the dock, in front of everybody. They call the cops. Beautiful story, but don't let the small plastic fool you. You'll stand up for it every now and then.
Some of these guys, especially what I do with some of these guys I deal with on the water sometimes, they just think they own the water, dude. It is unbelievable.
I mean, for the most part, we all fish around each other all the time. You'll be running bank or running docks and come up on somebody, and generally speaking, common courtesy, right? Just tip your hat and go on around it. But it's when people get those attitudes you're racing to a spot and you shouldn't fish that 300-yard stretch of bank because somebody saw it first or whatever, that's the confusing stuff, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah, I guess so.
Are you more of a 10-cup whiskey or a Western Sun vodka kind of guy?
Neither.
Okay. Take that, Dan.
I mean, I drink some beers here and there, but I really don't drink.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Don't come to Possum Kingdom with us then. Never mind.
Keep me out of trouble.
I retract that invitation. It'll hurt you more than me. Don't forget about this. Oh yeah. He said, don't forget about the shots fired on Gville a few years ago. We had a bass boater try to run over a kayak angler, and he got his pistol out and fired a couple shots in the water at the guy. Let him know he was serious.
There's a lot of drama down there, isn't there?
I mean, all the time. So I live 15 minutes from Gunnersville. It's just, there's just enough backwoods left in it where you're liable to run up on some fun. We duck hunt down here and stuff, and they'll burn the blinds, they'll cut your tires, bust the windows out of your trucks. The fishing part's a little better unless you're Ryan Salzman. He seems to always get his truck assaulted often down here. I don't know why. It's crazy, but must be a coincidence.
Must be.
Oh, here's a good one. Do you prefer to fish on little sleep or a full night's sleep?
Well, if I get 5 hours, I'm good. But I've had plenty of nights with no sleep and done well.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
I probably feel better if I would actually sleep, but for us, we go on these trips with everybody, and we'll usually all get an Airbnb, and you don't see your buddies from around the country all the time. You stay up too late, and next thing you know, it's 1 a.m. and you got to sleep for like 3 hours.
Yeah, for me, it's the same way. If we're talking fishing, then sleep second. It doesn't come around, it seems like.
If you could pick one body of water in the country, what's your favorite?
Gosh, that's such a hard question.
That's why I asked you.
Favorite body of water. I mean, I'm just going to take this one off the list because it's just so good. But I'm going to say the St. Lawrence, but I'm not picking that as my favorite just because it's probably everybody's pick.
I want to throw it out there, but it's not going to be my favorite.
Man, I don't know. We've been to so many good places. So many places we fish nowadays, too, are just so beat to death.
Yeah.
But
have you fished Caddo before, by chance?
No, never heard of it.
Ooh, whoa, what?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, wow. Well, you need to put that on your list at some point in your life. It's
Is that a nickname?
No. It's like Texas, Louisiana border, flooded cypress, freaking monsters. I mean, it is loaded with, just a very healthy population of 5 to 7 pound bass.
That's
Wow.
the only place I've ever seen largemouth act like white bass and bust shad into the kayak, and you catch them and they're all 5 pounds.
It's crazy.
Oh,
It is
wow.
crazy down there. You definitely need to. It's
It's
on the
public?
Hobie. It's on the Hobie schedule this year, but it's a phenomenal fishery.
Wow.
It's not too far. How far is Caddo from Toledo Bend? A couple hours.
It's like an hour west of Shreveport. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Right there in that neck of the woods. What were the other lakes? Was Crosse Lake? Does that sound right? Caddo, Crosse, Bistino. There were 4 or 5 that we could fish, in that same tournament series. But it's definitely a bucket list. You fish Santee Cooper?
Yeah.
So it's similar, that springtime Santee Cooper bite, where there's a
Yep.
giant on every cypress tree waiting to eat a Cinco. That's how Caddo is in the spring.
it's probably Cooper on steroids.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I like it way better than Santee, but we did hit, of course, a cold front when we fished Santee this past year, like always.
Yep.
Ooh,
I'll
these
tell
guys,
you,
these
like
Arkansas boys have it out for you. They threw out Ouachita and Dardanelle. You fished either one of those?
No.
You can keep both of them. I'll go ahead and
I
tell
bet.
you. Spoiler alert. Don't make that dive.
It was all right. Don't hate on Dardanelle.
Man, whatever. Get out of here. The place is trash. I like Ouachita better, sadly. 2 hours-ish. All right. So what are your goals this year as far as your first season into kayak fishing? Are you trying to top 20, cash a check, win one? I mean, how easy do you think it's going to be taking candy from these babies?
Well, I don't think it's going to be easy, number one. But my goal is to win every one. That's my goal.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Well, saddle up, boys. We'll get a little side pot. We'll get a side pot going. A bounty.
Yeah, first one, I'll probably dump the first one once. I'll catch nothing.
Well, just hope it's not like 27-degree air temps on Gunnersville, because that's always likely to happen that time of year.
I'm sure.
Jordan Lee, this lake sucks, he said. Yeah, Jordan, he came and fished. We did a tournament on Gunnersville, and he came out and fished his first, and to my knowledge, his only kayak derb. But he had a whole new appreciation for it after that one. He was having to paddle through, just matted, milfoil as far as you could see.
Yeah,
he called like in the middle of the day. He's like, "Lambert, this sucks." I was like, "Yeah, it's pretty tough, isn't it?" I think he was like 9th or something in that tournament. He did pretty well out of like 125 for never fishing out of a kayak before.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a good question from Dwayne. What are your thoughts of CPR versus traditional events?
I never did it before as far as catch, fit, or release, but I don't know. I mean, maybe in the future kayaks have Livewells. I don't know, but I think it's good for what it is. No, I don't really have an opinion against it.
I'm pushing. I would like to see, especially in the summertime, like these they're doing the Bill Dance Initiative deal in Tennessee where they're giving all this money for lake habitat and, improving the fisheries. I would like to see CPR across the board, even in big boat tournaments through the summer, because you go to these weigh-ins, especially like the dog fights and the weekend tournaments and stuff, you see so many dead fish. I mean, breeder fish, like giant females just floating dead after these tournaments. Like, I think that was probably one of the things that contributed to Kentucky Lake going so far downhill so fast. I think it was, a lot of those ledge fishing hot summer tournaments killing all the big fish didn't help too much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of really anal with my live wells as far as keeping them clean, keeping them cold. I mean, if they die, I lose money. So.
Yep. That's a fact. But I mean, and we fish bass boat tournaments around here and stuff. Like, you may keep them alive through the tournament, right? And then you slide them down the tube at the shack, and they're upside down. And we've spent 30, 45 minutes out trying to revive those big 7-8 pound fish at night. Trying to get them back, but that's tough. I think that's something that you could make an argument for across the board on the CPR part.
Yep.
What are your top 3 go-to lures anywhere in the country if you had to pick 3?
Texas rigged robo worm on a drop shot, Aaron's Morning Dawn color, 6-inch. Strike King Bitsy flip, black blue, quarter ounce, super chunk junior trout on the back. And number 3 is going to be a buzz bait. It's a custom one my buddy makes for me.
That's solid.
That's my 3.
Solid lineup.
Yep.
That's giving up juice right there.
I know. I didn't expect.
I just told you guys exactly what I throw mostly.
Wow.
So there's 3 of the 6 rods in the kayak.
So what's all that other stuff on the wall behind you?
It's stuff that went through the ringer and never made the cut.
It's brand new in the pack.
It's backstock. That's what I call it.
Very little true professionals.
I gotta improve my wall. My wall's looking a little weak compared to Greg's here.
I just have a garage floor and like 70 cardboard boxes of every order that I make, and then I'll dig through it right before the tournament to try to pick out what I need. Here's a good question as well. Are there any of the top kayak guys, girls that you're looking forward to competing against?
Nah,
Do you
I don't
have
really
any idea
know
who the top guys or girls are in kayak fishing?
Yeah, I was gonna say I really don't know who they are yet. I haven't done enough homework as far as the anglers go.
You don't really need to know. Just show up and do your thing, and you'll probably rub elbows with them on stage at some point.
All right. Charles Daltrey. There you go.
He don't even tournament fish, man.
I know. That's the one I know.
he was supposed to come fish Susky, and he hit me with some excuse. I can't remember if it was his knee or COVID for the 50th time. It was as I'm driving up there. He's like, "Oh, I'm not gonna make it, man." I was like, all right, Chuck, whatever."
I don't think I've seen Charles since the Hobie Bass Open before the series at Kentucky Lake.
He used to come fish that one all the time. That's where I met him. Good dude. He's a good dude for sure.
Yeah, he's a real good guy.
From Jersey wearing the camo Crocs. I didn't know what was happening.
He's in that middle Jersey. That's why he's confused.
Dude, when he opens his mouth, there's no question where he's from. Boy, all Charles.
I hope he's watching.
He better be. I'm going to be offended if he's not, especially after I gave him a heads up.
Chime in, Charles.
Corey, he said he's going to fish Cayuga on the Hobie and potentially lacrosse, right?
Yep.
Maybe, or no, that lacrosse is both. There's a bass lacrosse and a Hobie lacrosse actually. So
true. Yep.
So no, not only bass events, Corey. Marshall, you got anything else, pal?
I think I've pretty much all my questions have been asked by other people on the view chiming in.
I can add to something, and this is the outside looking in, and maybe I'm wrong a little bit, but I don't think so. I've seen the kayak thing in the last year and a half, 2 years. Well, I can even go back even further before I even thought about thinking about doing these. Let's go back 3 years. I think the kayak stuff has grown tremendously. And for me, that's partially one of the reasons why I want to get my feet wet and try this, because I do think that there is going to be opportunity in the industry with this whole kayak side. And I'm sure, like I said, some guys are capitalizing on it now, but I think, this is going to grow to be pretty darn big. That's my opinion.
I think your opinion's 100% on point, and I think where that's evident is places like ICAST and the
Yep.
Classic Expo. When you see these bigger established companies that have been in the industry for decades now marketing toward that kayak side. I'll tell you from our side, it has been kind of a slow growing process as far as pushing these companies that we may have a relationship with, taking it from product deals to cash to actual money that's going to make a dent in what we spend on the trails. And I think that was kind of a hesitation point on some of these bigger brands. Like, well, why would we spend our money here? Well, it's a completely different demographic. There's just like you don't know the anglers on the kayak side. There's a lot of kayak anglers that have no clue who the if you put out a list of elite pros, they wouldn't be able to pick
I
three
bet.
off of them, honestly. So I
Yeah,
think I think the big companies just realizing that there is a divide there that not everybody sees both sides of the marketing scheme.
definitely.
I don't know if you've ever looked into it or how close you've looked. A lot of guys, call it the kayak community. We've seen that over the last week or so where everybody's kind of coming together again. Do you feel that there's any comparison? I know you haven't fished any tournaments yet, but anything you've seen, any sort of community difference from bass boat guys or even, tiny boat nation to kayaks is, you have any differences or similarities between all those?
I do. So I put a post out last week or the week before about that I was going to fish this stuff. I have had a lot of kayak guys reach out to me and tell me some stuff as far as like good stuff, tips for the boat, do this, do that. In the bass boat world, it doesn't work that way. It's so cutthroat, it seems like, with the bass, on the higher level stuff for the most part. And I have seen where I feel like, you guys, as far as Hobie, Bassmaster, it seems like you guys do work together, if I'm not mistaken, as far as
Oh
scheduling.
yeah.
It just seems to be a little tighter family compared to what some of the leagues are nowadays.
That's very true. And I mean, we're really
Yep.
lucky to have that. And you'll see it at the tournaments. You'll have people helping you load your boat at the ramp, or, if you have trouble on the water, whatever, towing you back to the ramp, whatever it may be. Like it's crazy that, we'll travel 500 or 600 miles and you have an issue and you've got 15 people right there to help you. It's
Yep.
really unique, I think, what we have.
That's good. That's a rarity nowadays.
Here's a good question. Any other elite anglers showing an interest in trying out the kayak trail?
Not off the top of my head, no, but I would say in the future, yes.
I think
Yes.
so too. I think especially as both these series grow, their payouts and their structure and the exposure on the social media side, I
Yep.
think you'll see sponsors more willing for you guys to cross over, and still support you in that.
Yeah. If you guys, I don't think you do for the most part, but like if these tournaments can get televised some way, man, that'll be huge. That
So
would
that
be,
was literally a comment that was just thrown up on YouTube.
yep.
Do you see it becoming televised? And we've talked about this a few times. We have like media boats that'll go around and do still shot photography and sometimes like live on the water type interviews. But most kayak anglers run GoPros in their boats all the time.
Yep.
Not only for content or whatever, but if there's ever a question, if there's ever, a potential rule violation or whatever, you have that safety net that you can pull that footage and say, no, this is actually what happened. Here it is. I think if there's ever going to be something like that on the kayak side, because we are so limited on space, it'll have to be like signal booster streaming from GoPro. Like, I think that's the only way that it'll be feasible in a kayak, because obviously you can't fit a cameraman in the back of your Old Town there.
Yeah. Or have a chase boat.
Yeah, so that's another thing is some of the some of the areas that kayaks will find themselves in. The Susky is a great example. Steve Fields, he is Hobie's camera guy. Like I've seen him get those jet boats in some precarious situations up on rocks and, up on the edges of drops and stuff, getting stuck. I think that's another challenge. I think potentially drones, a live feed from a drone may be an option, but sometimes it's really tough to get a camera boat back in there.
I'm sure.
Find one more here. Any sponsorship advice you would give to small boat kayak anglers looking to pursue a personal sponsorship? From Slay Nation Tournament Fishing.
Yeah, for me growing up, it's always been about hard work. I kind of got into the game pretty early as far as going to outdoor shows, and that's kind of where I got my feet wet, and I kind of started meeting a lot of guys in the industry. At the end of the day, a lot of this still today is about who you meet and who you know. So if you're trying to get into stuff wherever you're from, the outdoor shows are back around again. COVID's still here, but it's not like it was. So outdoor shows are back. I would say go there. Potentially you can meet a sponsor, but one big piece of advice, and the industry is still flooded, obviously, with guys that are just doing nothing for a small discount. Don't be one of them guys. It's only going to hurt you in the long run. If there's something that you truly like, let's say it's a rod brand, let's say it's Shimano, super hard to get, but if you chase them down and that's what you really set your goals for, that's what you have to go for. Don't settle for a deal with somebody else. Like I said, outdoor shows for me is where it all started for me. That's how I got my foot in the door to everybody, for the most part. Who you meet and who you line yourself up with.
Marshall, you can attest to that, as you're seeing a lot of that now, is from connections through the Dugout, meeting these reps and these market VPs and stuff. Like those are the people that will make the connections for you on that side.
Yeah, it's a lot of running into people and, hey, I know so and so, they just told me that, and you just kind of capitalize on the opportunity, take advantage of what you can take advantage of, and, try to always be in a situation where you can be that guy that's, can talk to all these people, whether it be a potential sponsor or whatever else.
Yep.
Another question from YouTube, Jake Harshman, do you have a circle of people you travel and stay with on the Elite Series? Have you considered doing the YouTube vlog thing that some pros do?
Yes, I do. So I travel with Chad Pipkins and Clifford Perch mostly. And we have tossed it around a little bit, yes, to do like a on the water, off the water YouTube thing. Just never went ahead and did it.
Do you mess with editing video a lot yourself?
I used to a lot.
Yeah,
I used to.
That's the
time is of the essence, man. It's hard to find time. That's for sure. That's for sure. A lot of these guys that are doing that stuff are paying somebody to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
a lot of those, like you'll see them post, like Scott Martin, for instance, like he'll post like, looking for young cameraman just out of college, very hungry, doesn't have expenses. Like that's kind of the target, I feel like. Corey Dreyer asked, which event are you looking forward to the most out of the ones you've listed? Do you have a favorite out of those?
Like I said, as far as on the kayak stuff, Gunnersville and Susky for bass, and Cayuga for Hobie for sure.
Nice.
The Cayuga event's June 24th and 5th. I mean, it should be good.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how the grass is going to be this year coming up, but
I might fly up for that one and bum a kayak off somebody else. We'll have to see how much I hate my life by that point in time. I'm usually super excited. No,
So there you go. So one of my favorite lakes. There you go. I haven't been there a whole lot, but Cayuga, it's got them, dude. I mean, it flat out has got them. You can catch them so many different ways there.
That's what I hear. I want to try it, but I'm trying to hedge my bets. I say this every year. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna pick 9 events or 10 events or whatever it is, and then like 20 events later, I'm like, gosh, like you did it again. Like I get so burnt out by the end of November. I just want to take the winter off and duck hunt and not worry about fishing. And now I'm at the point. Our first tournament's on Harris Chain, February 18th, and I'm like, I'm hungry again. I want to go fishing again. So I'm trying to do better on time management.
You're not going to try to do 45 events with me this year, Lambert?
I'm definitely not, Marshall. I promise you.
45. Is that how many you're doing? 45?
Yeah, something like that. I think I got
Wow.
four on the schedule. And
Marshall will wake up and be like, "Oh, well, there's a, I think there's a local event in Florida. I'm going to drive down to. It's every weekend."
That's impressive.
Weeks off. I like staying in that moment. I like kind of getting to the. I feel like I catch a hot streak. I'm just going to go and just. I'll show up somewhere and just keep it rolling.
I like it.
But yeah, I think I got 44 on the schedule.
Have you considered fishing any local events, Greg, like to kind of cut your teeth a little bit or hone your skills out of the kayak a little bit?
I probably should, but I just don't have time to.
There you go.
You know, everything. It's funny because like everything I've ever done in my life is just like full bore to top into it and just go.
Yep.
You know, it's
You're
like when you go buy a car, it's like I'll settle for this one, but at the end of the day, you wanted the other one. Just go for the max rate right from the get go.
You'll be fine. You're gonna have a good time. Like I said, I mean, it's a really good group of people. Everybody is super cordial and likes to hang out and try to go to dinners and stuff, and throw cornhole or shoot pool or whatever. Like we try to do like little social gatherings on these things too, because like I said, some people may only get to fish 2 or 3 a year, and that might be the only time you get to see them is out there on the road.
So, are you guys fishing the Gunnersville event or no?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
But,
yeah.
okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably top 5 of the year for both of us. That's probably
that's my number one favorite fishery. We'll see. That the smallmouth that's a Gunnersville smallie on the wall back there.
I've never caught one there. Always largemouth in some spots.
Buddy, there's some brown magic in them waters, my friend.
I know there is.
I think last year I caught like a 6.5 pound meanmouth out there.
Really? Holy crap.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Monsters.
So how many inches is it going to take to win Gunnersville? Fishing good.
That time of year is tricky, but I'm still going to say probably 96 or so. 95, 96.
Yeah, 95.
Yep.
So it's at 19 pounds a day?
Yeah. Well, but
words.
see, dude, I mean, it's real hit or miss that time of year, though, because honestly, it's going to depend on, I mean, you know how tournament fishing goes. It's going to depend on a cold front. Like,
yeah, no doubt.
Cold front and a flood. So that's the other thing that always seems to happen that time of year. If the floodgates are open, it really flips that place on its head, depending on if the water's backing up the creeks or just starting to go down. So there's a couple different factors in there, but I mean, the multiple bites that are coming into play at that time, I think you'll see some big bags and some probably 8 or 9 pounds for big fish, I would say.
Yeah, I bet you're right.
I would say even worst case scenario, even if it is flood terrible and cold front, I would say it's still over 90 at the minimum.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Gunnersville, it hit a lull 4 or 5 years ago where it was just the amount of tournaments and the pressure kind of got to it. TVA sprayed a lot of the grass and it knocked it back, but the past 2 or 3 years, it's fished as good or better than I can remember living here. I mean, it's made a great comeback. It'll be a good.
That's
one.
good to hear. Just for me going there for the last few years, I've seen obviously. So when I first went there, I think it was maybe, I don't know how many years ago it was, but the milfoil was gorgeous. And then it started to die off. We came back and there was eelgrass and a lot of hydrill in the mix. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what it's going to be. I haven't been there now in 2 years now.
There's a lot of eelgrass. I mean, eelgrass plays a lot more, I mean, on Gunnersville than probably anything else as far as the duration of time that's a factor in the bite.
Yeah, I bet. We run into the same thing here in the Upper Bay. When that eelgrass starts to grow first of the spring, it's like, when it comes up, it's dominant.
What's your favorite bait for the Upper Bay? Jake Harshman asked.
Gosh, hard to beat a chatterbait, in the springtime. But overall, gosh, there's two. I'm going to say a jig or that drop shot I was telling you about.
I like it.
We had the same problem here, a lot of pressure. So the drop shot plays a big role.
That was like on Chickamauga this year. That was probably the best producing ledge bait this year was a drop shot, which granted forward facing sonar played a much bigger factor than traditionally. You just get out there and throw a big swim bait or jerky jay or drag a football jig. Now you're actually, trying to target individual fish. So I think that also makes a difference. Well, TJ, he hadn't jumped into the kayak side yet. So TJ asked, how's your tournament prep changed since switching to kayak? Not being able to run 20 or 30 miles up. He's going to figure that part out.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I really don't have an answer because listen, I'm really used to fishing out of boats with just trolling motors only. Trust me, I've done it my whole life. So the places on the schedule, I have been to them. So there's areas of the lake that I think in my mind should be playing. That's where I'm going to just spend all my time. I guess the biggest thing is going to be, like I said, just breaking the tackle down completely. That's the biggest thing, more than spot fishing, honestly.
I mean, judging from your background, what you grew up doing, I think you're not going to have that big of a learning curve coming over to our world.
I don't either.
Russell Johnson asked, can you swim?
Very fast.
All right.
I weigh about
Steve-o,
145.
we got these people tuning in late. We've already hit him with the tethers. We've given him the advice on rods standing up to dodge the rattle traps. I like it. Well, man, we've had you on here for an hour and 10 minutes. I do appreciate it. I'd like to thank our sponsors before we get off here. Dugout Bait and Tackle, Marietta, Georgia. If you're running around down here, Greg, and you need anything locally, we can hook you up from the guys at Dugout. Western Sun Vodka. Didn't touch any of it tonight because I actually have a job tomorrow, but we like to thank them. Revo Sunglasses, and of course, ProGuide Lithium. KBN, use code KBN on ProGuide Lithium. Get you 10% off your lithium batteries if you need them.
How far is that dugout from Guntersville?
There's a couple of good local tackle shops on the Guntersville area too. The dugout's in Marietta, but several of us, myself, Steve-o, Marshall, we're down there all the time. We usually keep a pretty good stash on us for the dugout, and they have a online presence as well to grab whatever you need. But Jamie, he's got everything. He's got Japanese baits. He's got Shimano, anything you can imagine. Like Jamie's got a fully stocked shop down there for sure.
Yeah, I saw a few videos on YouTube and it looked pretty impressive.
It's awesome, man. I sent Aaron Lewis was in town for a concert, and he's like, I want to go check out this place, that you've been talking about, whatever. He went in there and dropped like $6,000 on on a Sunday afternoon. He's like, dude, you're right. They have everything. It's a special little place tucked away on the north side of Atlanta, which is crazy.
It's over there. Okay.
Yes, sir. Well, man, take it easy. If you need anything, give us a shout. Like I said, I'm sure we'll see you on Guntersville down here, but you got plenty of people willing to help you with anything you might run into on the water.
I appreciate that. And same here, guys. If I can help you guys out anyway, let me know.
Sounds good. Marshall, I'll see you for dinner tomorrow night.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for coming on, Greg. I'll see you at Guntersville's. Look forward to meeting you.
You got it, guys. Thank you.
All right. See ya.
See ya.